Okay, so we spent some time talking about solving and writing one-step inequalities. Now let's look at two-step inequalities. Again, same rules as two-step equations. And remember that if you multiply or divide by a negative, that means the sign of the inequality is going to change. But let's do some practice determining if a given value makes an inequality true. And so for our first problem here, I have at Gas and Wash, gasoline sells for $4 a gallon, and a car wash costs $12. Harika wants to have her car washed and keep her total purchase under $60. The inequality 4G plus 12 is less than 60 can be used to find G, the number of gallons of gas she can buy. Determine which, if any, of those values is a solution. So we want to test if G, 11, and 12 gallons are possible solutions to this inequality. So all I'm going to do is, just like with an equation, is just replace G with my values and see if it makes a true statement. Well, 4 times 10 is 40 plus 12. That gives me 52 is less than 60. So that one's going to be true. And we can look at 4, I'll do it in a different color actually, we'll do it in green. 4 times 11 plus 12 is less than 60. That's 44 plus 12 is less than 60, or 56 is less than 60, and that's true. So we know so far that Harika can buy 10 gallons, and she could buy 11 gallons of gas, and her total will still be under $60. And then let's look at 12. 4 times 12 plus 12 is less than 60. 48 plus 12 is less than 60. We have 60 is less than 60. So unfortunately, Harika cannot buy 12 gallons and keep that under $60. So we're going to say this is false. So pause the video here and try B and C. Okay, so on B, we want to, again, determine if the given values makes the inequality true. And we have 3v minus 8 is greater than 22, and our numbers are 9, 10, and 11. So 3 times 9 minus 8 is greater than 22. That's 27 minus 8 is greater than 22. And we have 19 is greater than 22, and that's false. We have 3 times 10 minus 8 is greater than 22. 30 minus 8 greater than 22. We get 22 is greater than 22. So that's also false because we know 22 is not greater than 22, it's equal to it. And finally, we have 3 times 11 minus 8 is greater than 22. So notice on all of these, all I'm doing is just replacing the variable with these 3 numbers that were given to us. So 33 minus 8 is greater than 22, and that gives you 25 is greater than 22, and that's true. And we can look at C. Same thing again. We have 5h plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. And so we're going to replace with negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. So 5 times negative 3 plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. That's negative 15 plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. Negative 15 plus 12 is negative 3. and negative 3 is less than or equal to negative 3. So it meets one of those criteria. So it's going to be true. For green, or for negative 4 in green, not 3, 5 times negative 4 plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. That's negative 20 plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. Negative 8 is less than or equal to negative 3, and that's also a true statement. Negative 8 is less than negative 3. And finally, we have 5 times negative 5 plus 12 is less than or equal to negative 3. Negative 25 plus 12, less than or equal to negative 3. Negative 25 plus 12 is negative 13, which is less than or equal to negative 3. So that's going to be a true statement. All right, so those are pretty easy. All we're doing is we're just really just testing out those numbers and just doing a little bit of guess and check here. Let's look at solving a two-step inequality. For example, D. Serena wants to complete the first 3 miles of a 10-mile run in 45 minutes or less, running at a steady pace. The inequality 10 minus 0.75p is less than or equal to 7 can be used to find p, the pace, in miles per hour. She can run to reach her goal. Solve the inequality, and then we're going to graph and interpret that solution. So we're going to solve this just like we would a two-step equation. So we're going to get rid of the number term first, and so I'm going to subtract 10 on both sides of my inequality. You can still draw that line down the middle if it helps. That gets rid of our 10 term here, and we're left with negative 0.75p is less than or equal to negative 3. Finally, we're going to divide both sides by negative 7.5. And remember, when we divide by a negative, we flip the sign. So now p is greater than or equal to 4 miles per hour. So if we graph this, just draw a rough sketch of a graph. Here's 4. Here's a solid circle at 4. And I'm going to shade to the right. And all that means is that Serena has to run at least 4 miles per hour in order to meet her goal of running the first 3 miles of that 10-mile run in 45 minutes or less. Pause here and try your turn 3. Okay, let's go over your turn number 3. Joshua wants to complete the first mile of a 5-mile run in 10 minutes or less, running at a steady pace. The inequality 5 minus p divided by 6 is less than or equal to 4 can be used to find p, the pace, in miles per hour. He can run to reach his goal. Solve the inequality and graph and interpret that solution. So 5 minus p divided by 6 is less than or equal to 4. So the first thing you should have done was to subtract 5 on both sides of this inequality, which gets rid of the number term, leaves us with negative p divided by 6 is less than or equal to 4 minus 5 is negative 1. And think for a second here, how do we get rid of that divided by negative 6? We want to multiply by negative 6 on both sides of this equation. That cancels out the 6 and cancels out the negative. And the negative 1 times negative 6 gives you 6. Think about what sign is going to be here. We just multiplied by a negative, which means we're going to flip that sign to be greater than or equal to. And that's going to be miles per hour. So if we graph that, here's 6, a closed circle, and we shade to the right. So that means Joshua must run at least 6 miles per hour. Okay, so we want to write a two-step inequality here. A mountain climbing team is camped at an altitude of 18,460 feet on Mount Everest. The team wants to reach the 29,029-foot summit within 6 days. Write an inequality to find the average number of feet per day the team must climb to accomplish its objective. So I want you to think for a second. If they want to climb this within 6 days, that means they're going to have to climb more than or equal to a set amount each day. So they're going to have to climb something for 6 days. So there's our variable term, 6D, 6 days. Now they've already climbed 18,460 feet. And in order to make this inequality true, within the 6 days, they have to climb more than or equal to the same amount every day for the 6 days. So let me kind of go over this one more time. They need to climb 29,029 feet. They have already climbed 18,460 feet, and they're going to climb a set amount each day for 6 days. And in order to get that, to get to the height of that mountain, they have to climb at least a set amount every day. So that's why we're saying greater than or equal to. So pause the video here and go ahead and try your turn G and H. All right, so let's go over G. The 45 members of a glee club are trying to raise $6,000 so they can compete in the state championship. They already have $1,240. What inequality can we write to find the amount each member must raise on average to meet the goal? So they have to have 6,000 in total. And just like with when we talked about equations, that is kind of what this inequality is going to end up being. Okay? Now, they can make more than 6,000, but they can't make less than it. So we're looking for a greater than or equal to sign here. They can make more than 6,000, and there's no problem with that. But if you think about it, if they make less than 6,000, they're not going to be able to make their trip. Now, there are 45 members, and each one has to raise a certain amount of money. I'll use M for money here. Now, they already have $1,240. So they need 6,000. They already have 1,240. And the 45 members of that glee club need to raise a set amount each if we're going to divide that evenly. Now, the reason we're saying greater than or equal to is because they can raise more money. Say Johnny raises $200, but Emma doesn't raise $200. She raises a little bit less than that. But as long as she raises the absolute minimum amount that she needs to raise, everything's good. So if I were to solve this, just to explain that example a little further, I would subtract 1,240 on both sides of my equation. And that gives me 45M is greater than or equal to 4,760. And then if I divide both sides by 45, that gives me M is greater than or equal to 105.78 if I round. So each member has to raise at least $105.78. Someone else can go raise $150 if they want, as long as they raise at least that amount. All right, and our last example here. Ella has $40 to spend at the state fair. Admission is $6 and each ride costs $3. Write an inequality to find the greatest number of rides she can go on. Well, Ella can't spend more than $40. She can spend less than or equal to $40. We know the admission is $6. That is set, it is constant, that doesn't change. And each ride is $3. So there's your inequality for H. $6 for admission plus $3 per ride, excuse the bell, sorry about that, has to be less than the $40 that Ella has. All right, and finally, writing a word problem, just like we talked about with equations. I have a word problem here, 2x plus 20 is less than or equal to 50. And my word problem is Tomas has run 20 miles so far this week. If he intends to run 50 miles or less, how many miles on average should he run on each of the 2 days remaining in the week? So I want you to think about your own word problem. Think about things that you're interested in, things that you want to write about, and have that ready for class. I also want you to write your own summary of the notes this time. I've not given you a question stem. So see what you can come up with, and I look forward to reading about your responses. Have a great day, everyone.